Hey guys, so go ahead and grab your 27mm socket and go ahead and remove that bolt. Also, don't forget your safety pin. I would like to store everything on the side of a sheet of paper, make sure it's nice and clean. Go ahead and take out your axle, and once you do that, go ahead and push up your tire and remove the chain. Once you remove the chain, the tire should come right out with no problem. And also, don't forget your spacers. They're also on both sides. Go ahead and grab your 12mm wrench and go ahead and remove the bolt that's holding the rim lock. Might be a good idea also to put a towel or underneath the rotors or something when you're breaking the bead like this. Don't be like me. To make things easier, I like using 3 tire irons already set in place for the very start. Go ahead and hold your tire still and go ahead and pry it right open. Also, don't forget to lube up. I have lube already on it. Don't forget to hold the first tire iron in place and everything else should go in order. Go ahead and finish the job, go all the way around and go ahead and pop that bead off the entire rim. Go ahead and take out the tube. Once you remove the tube, go ahead and push the tire iron across and you're going to peel off that tire. Sometimes it might be easier to stand up the wheel, but as you can see, sometimes using 2 tire irons might be a little easier and the rim should just peel off just like that. Now, before putting on brand new tires, go ahead and clean up everything that you need to. Go ahead and clean up the rim, bearings, whatever it is that's dirty. Now is a good time to clean it. As you see here, we have the Cheater 505 from Shinko. I'm going to go ahead and install these tires. Go ahead and lube up the tire. Over here I'm just using water and soap. Seems to do the job and sticks on pretty well. I like to spray it everywhere. Plus it's cheap. Just water and soap. So go ahead and be generous. Spray it everywhere. Also, go ahead and lube up the tube and you're just going to go ahead and slide in the tube. I forgot to take a video, but you can kind of already see the tube inside the tire. Unfortunately, my battery died at this point of time while I was filming, so I have a better representation of my front tire at the 6 o'clock mark. So go ahead and fast forward to 6 o'clock if you would like to see a more detailed view of changing the tire. So keep in mind I forgot to record the first part, but here are some tips before you fast forward to 6 o'clock. When you first try to set the bead on the wheel, using 2 or 3 tire irons is usually a good idea. Another tip from a pro dirt biker I follow on YouTube is when you stick in the tire iron, gently lift it back up just so the tip of the tire iron is on the bead. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but usually you can pinch the tire when you're setting the bead. So try to just lift it up just enough so the tip of the tire iron just kind of nips the bead. You will see that when I'm changing my front tire in this video. It is also a good idea to feel for the tube inside of the wheel as you are setting the bead in the rim. That way you have a decent idea where and how to place the tire iron so you don't pinch that tube. Once you finish the bead in the rim on both sides, it is a good idea to inflate the tire to 25 psi so the tire can evenly set. And when that is done, it is also a good idea to balance the tire, but the tool for that is obviously sold separately. Once you are done inflating the tire, it's actually a good idea to kind of just spin the tire around, make sure you don't see any imperfections, no bulges or anything like that. Alright, now it's time to put our tire back. The fun part. Get the axle and make sure the alignment cover, or whatever it's called, faces the bolt. For me, it was easier to hold the chain up and move the tire into an angle and slide it in the brake pads, then finish getting the chain on. I also found it easier to install the spacers after I installed the wheel and chain. Once you do that, then add your axle back, your alignment pad and washer following the nut. You might need to align your tire after. Once you tighten the bolt to specs, go ahead and spin your tire to make sure everything looks aligned and has play from the brake pads. And of course, don't forget your safety pin. Now it is time to do that front tire. Go ahead and get a 3/4 inch socket, loosen the bolt and remove it with your torque wrench. Get a 10mm socket and loosen the bolt tightening the axle, but do not remove the screws. You should be able to freely move the axle. Once it is halfway off, some taps with the hammer and the driver will break it loose, but be gentle. Also, keep that bolt with the axle so you don't lose it. Once the axle is removed, you should be able to slide out the tire with no problem. Remove the cover, inspect it, and the bearings. Also, now it is a good time to clean and wipe down everything and relube as needed. Also, it is very important you do not forget these spacers. They are on both sides. Now it is time to change the tire. Remove the valve stem cover and take out all of the air. If you have a valve stem tool, remove the stem inside. It will be much easier to get rid of the air. Go ahead and break the bead once that is done. Try to clean the area or use a carpet. If you are out on the trails, use a jacket or a cloth so you don't dirty the bearings. Unscrew the bead lock halfway. Once that is done, go ahead and use 3 tire irons. I didn't use lube to demonstrate without lube, since you will be on the trails most likely without lube. But some water will help. Make sure to take little bites as well, and feel for the tire iron just touching the bead. Don't go in too much or you can pinch the tube. Since I am not on the trails, I will finish with lube. Take little bites and make sure the tip of the iron is just on the bead. Finish prying all the way around. Take out the tube. Once the bead is off the wheel, finish the other side. It's easier to put the tire iron across like so and peel the tire off the wheel. Then it should come right off. Time to install the fatty 21 tires. These use the following size tubes. Lube up the tube and stick it in the tire first and make sure to inflate the tube just enough to have its shape. Then find the hole in your rim and screw in the valve stem from the tube. But don't screw it all the way. Try to get as much of the bead as you can in the rim. Then with your tire iron set the rest of the bead inside. From the inside you should be able to lift it. Once most of it is in, I was able to push the rest in with my hands. Flip it to the other side. Now this is where you need to be extra careful with the tube. I highly recommend lubing everything at this point. Set 3 tire irons in, give it a slight lift to make sure the tip is only on the bead and not the tube. Start setting the bead in the wheel and alternate. Make sure to hold the tire iron down. Notice I give a small lift so I don't pinch the tube. Does not hurt to feel for the tube as well. At the end, I found it easier to get that last bit standing up and putting the tire iron in an angle. Inflate the tire to 25 psi so the bead can set. Now it is time to install the wheel back. I found it easier to align the cover and axle mount first, then stick in the axle to hold it in place. Then slide in your wheel and try to get the rotor into the brake pads. Then finish sliding in the axle all the way through. Tighten everything and give your tire a spin to make sure it spins freely. Make sure everything is to spec.